Ah, there we go. Oh, nobody's even looking already? God, I thought they'd be waiting. All right, well, as Finn said, my name is Genevieve, or Jen for short. But before you guys kind of stole my thunder with all this whole political talk. That's what I was going to mention before I really jump into my story. So I wrote down a few things. Basically what I was going to say is, as we all know, there's been an all-out attack on the LGBTQ community, with the rights and equality, with trans people taking the brunt of that attack currently. As with gay marriage, we must band together now more than ever. We must lean on each other as well as our allies across all communities, which basically can be seen by Rockwall last night, and we saw how well that turned out for us, and we need to continue that trend. Now more than ever, we must be united. We must speak clearly, openly, and honestly against these transgressions that seek to break us down mentally until we believe that we are less than human or that there's something wrong with who we are. Each person in this room and watching this video has a voice and a vote. So make sure you're registered to vote if you can, if you're old enough. Make sure you're ready to vote. And come election day, let's send a message to those that preach hate and inequality that we've had enough of your rhetoric and that your time has passed along with your ideology. That's my political statement for tonight. All right. Now we get to the good stuff. As many of you know, and some of you probably don't know, I'm originally from Chicago. I'm actually going to turn 40 in September, which I know for many of you it's hard to believe that somebody could look this good being that old. I think I look good anyways. Yeah, people know it, don't even. And then another thing this is more for the kids. I said it's one of the things I put, said it's funny that I have 6 sheets of paper here in my hand trying to remember my life story and keep it all organized. So for the younger generation, the key here is just don't get old. From the ages of 4 to 5, I knew that I was different and that I was born into the wrong body. I prayed nightly until the age of 12 to be turned into a woman. I was mostly brought up by my paternal grandmother. My mother went to night school and then worked the graveyard shift and slept during the day, so I actually never really saw her all that much. My father had a Sicilian temper, which, if you know anything about Sicilians, the temper is pretty short, quick, and violent. He worked long hours, drank himself to bed, and then felt it was his right to beat me into a man. Wow, I hit me quick. Sorry. Make sure I make eye contact. Growing up, my deepest fear was listening to the car pull into the drive, waiting for that garage door to open, and trying to hide all signs that I was awake. Many nights for me, it didn't matter. Growing up, there was one person that actually knew who I wanted to be. Her name was Katie. Unfortunately, we actually haven't kept up. Throughout my childhood, I was actually mentally and physically abused. Not because I was trans or because I wanted to be a girl, but just because I existed. At the time, Katie and I were the only person that shared that secret of who I actually felt I wanted to be. I haven't even got to the good stuff. Let's see, where was I? Okay. At the age of 16 and 17, I was lost. I actually had nowhere to turn to. The internet, for you kids today, was running on like MS-DOS and floppy disk and things like that. Most of the young people are like, what's that? What's a disk? But it didn't have the ability that it has today. And I was actually struggling to figure out who or what I was. With the abuse from my father and the apathetic nature of my mother, I attempted suicide twice on the same day. Oh, thanks. Any vodka? Hey, you gotta get this started. Oh, wait, I'm in a church. Never mind. Just kidding. Wine. Yeah, I got it. I need some stronger stuff. When my parents were away, obviously they weren't around all that much. My father working long hours, my mother either sleeping during the day or gone at night and gone during the afternoon. I went downstairs, grabbed a 10-gauge shotgun, loaded it with two shells, walked into my room, and quickly pulled the trigger. The first time I pulled the trigger, I got a click. I was stunned. So I did what I thought was best, quickly regrouped my courage, tried it again, and got another click. What actually saved my life, and this is a funny twist of fate, is that 3 months earlier I was actually washing my car in the driveway, and unbeknownst to me, a pipe in the house had burst. So I kept washing my car. It actually flooded the downstairs. It actually flooded where all the weapons were, and flooded where all the shells were. And I had grabbed 2 shells that were in a waterlogged box that had been in there for 3 months. Basically, the shells were bad and I was lucky. Hi, everybody. Apparently I'm doing it great. And they're very proud of me. Thanks. At the age of 18, I moved out of my house after another blood and knuckles fight with my father, which left me bleeding outside of 7-Eleven in 10-degree weather in socks, jeans, and a t-shirt. Calling my brother from a payphone, which I know many of you young people don't even know what that is, but it's a big box, and you actually had to put money in it. It was really awkward. Half the time you couldn't even get the money back. As I was calling my brother, I was frantically hoping that he would answer and pick up. As hypothermia set in, I ended up getting bronchitis and 103 fever. By the time I turned 21, my mom had remarried and stopped talking to me because her new husband disliked my ability to speak for myself. I lived in Texas alone. My brother stayed in Chicago, only wanted to talk about sports, and often ignored what I had to say about my father, or about life, or anything I had to say. My father, on the other hand, isn't a very loquacious person, nor would I actually turn to him in any time of need if I needed it. I came out at the age of 24. I had been through a 2-year period where I had 8 funerals, worked 3 jobs, went to school full-time, was a victim of check fraud, and was being stalked by my current and ex-girlfriend. I literally broke down in an entomology final exam. I walked out the door a quarter way through the exam, which began my powerful push away from the tortured world that I grew up in. After months of therapy, I decided it was time to come out to my best friend, Kristen. This was my first step in telling the world that I was something other than what I appeared. She did me a wonderful favor. She told the rest of the world for me. She promptly told all my coworkers, all my friends, and everybody without me knowing. The result in that was me losing my job, which could have been worse, and also a lot of friends. The shell shock and backlash caused me to isolate myself deeper and further and move away more from people than I ever had. And to this day, I wish I had. Oh, thanks. Love you too, Jen. I wish I would have been as strong and courageous as many of the people in this room and watching online. I wish I would have allowed myself the freedom to openly express who I was meant to be. But to be honest, I was petrified. I was afraid. I was afraid I'd lose everything. Everyone. My family. Why I clung to the notion of my mom, my father, and my brother as family, I just don't understand. When I finally came out as a cross-dresser, at the time anyways, to the rest of the world, I quickly realized who I could trust and who would end up as a sentence in my life story. At the time, my mother seemed to accept what I had said. My brother continuously ignored my repeated attempts to educate, and my father hunkered himself away, leaving our communication to golf, weather, nationally recognized holidays, which has not changed since. Today, my mother accepts who I am, but there's some work left there. I must admit that from 24 to now has been a hell of a ride. Now is where the story finally gets happier. I was laid off in 2009 for 24 months and lost all my savings and my retirement. I know, I did say happier, so just trust me. During those 24 months, I was homeless and living out of my car for 3 of those months. Just trust me, it's getting there. I'm making it really bad before it gets better. Some of the happiest things. I have lived in Hawaii, Belgium, Chicago on a few occasions, and even worked at Walt Disney World in Florida. While living in Florida, I tackled a shoplifter in a Ross, as you do. I learned how to scuba dive. I swam with sharks without a cage in Hawaii. I finished school with 2 degrees, became a published poet 12 times, ran 2 marathons even though doctors told me I would never run again. I said goodbye to my brother, by his choice and admittedly by mine as well. I have learned that fear is a good thing, and that with the correct perspective it can elicit a positive change in your life. I have learned that there's a difference between giving up and knowing when you have had enough. I have learned that a smile may be all I have to offer, but that I'm going to make it count. I have learned that I must be brave, even when I'm frightened. Like, no. I have learned to park my pride. I have studied myself and realized that I barely know anything, and that lack of knowledge drives my insatiable thirst for more knowledge. Most importantly, I've learned that by losing most of my biological family, I have gained something stronger and longer lasting. I must say thank you to everyone that's here and watching elsewhere. I need to take a break with some vodka. Without all of you and all of you, I would have given up. Without you, there would be no me. Without all of you, I never would have learned to enjoy the little things, to value each person I meet, to love, not in word or speech, but in truth or action, that I have worth and that I matter. Yeah, it smelled pretty good. Most importantly, that your love and generosity has given me hope and taught me to reach deeper than I ever thought was possible. That being a transgender person does not define any of us. We are so much more. We are brave, we are strong, determined, and no one can take that away from us. What does define us is our actions, things we say, things we do, and how we treat each other. Lastly, this is the easy part too. Wow, this is going to be short. Lastly, I would like to announce that January 16th of 2017 is the tentative date for my GRS top and vocal surgery. That's right. Jean Biev, 40 years in the making, finally becoming a reality. Thank you for your time, love, understanding, and support. And that is the short version of me. Very short. If you guys have any topics or any questions you would have, or any gaps that you would like me to fill in, feel free to ask any questions you like. I try to condense as much as I can in there, but I'm an open book. Or just stay quiet, that's fine.
Well, I don't have a question, but I just wanted to say that it was amazing to hear your story, and I'm glad that none of you.
And the reason I didn't mention a whole lot of transgender things in this story was because that, like I said, that doesn't define any of us. It's just a piece of us. You know, there's so much more. We are so much deeper than that. We are so much stronger than that. We have so much more of a story than just that. You know, we just are. You know, we're people. You know, we have good sides, bad sides, good days, bad days. I mean, but being trans isn't who I am. It's just, that's part of my life. You know, who I am are all these things and all the other dumb things I've done throughout my life and all the fun things I've done throughout my life and all the adventures I have and all the adventures that I've been through and things that I've briefly hit upon. So I just really want to thank you and say how courageous all of you are. That's it. All right, bye everybody.